You know it's time. IAfootball is back, and we've got you covered with everything from the biggest hits to the biggest runs, from in-game highlights to post-game breakdowns.
We are here talking any and all high school football.
From day one all the way to the dome, we've got you covered at IAfootball.
Friday marks week 4 of the Iowa high school football season, which is pretty crazy to think about, but nothing's changing on our end. We've got another episode of Locks and Dogs, over 1,000 views last week, which is really, really promising and really cool. We appreciate everyone for tuning in and hearing us talk high school football for 20, 30 minutes. Nick, how are you?
Could be doing better after last week.
Well, I was going to lead right into that. Don't worry. I will be coming back to that. Rockford picks come out tomorrow. As always, rankings will be on Monday. That stuff is normal. Any interesting stories across the Iowa high school football scene? Eric doesn't get on the shows, but Eric and I love going during the week across the state and telling interesting stories. So if there's something cool, let me know. DM IAfootball, message us on Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. We don't know the stories. You guys do. We just like to tell them. I just went to ADM today, and I'm doing a story on the #1 rated long snapper in the state of Iowa, which is kind of interesting, very cool. Eric was in Iowa Valley telling a story on Nolan Kriegel, so you'll see that soon. But we just don't know all the stories. It's impossible for us to cover all 330 teams. So if there's anything interesting, drop a comment. Let us know. Could be anything. Literally anything. I'm all ears. But last week, on the rankings, improvement for our rankers. Overall, pretty good. 73% clip, 163 and 61 overall last week. So our rankers do kind of know what they're doing. Overall, I mean, really no outliers. The 8-man's actually 25 and 6. That's a typo on my end. He did not miss 16. There's not that many games. So my fault. I don't think the 8-man ranker watches these, though. And last week, Nick, are we hitting the panic button? Is Fox headquarters hitting the panic button in week 4 of Locks and Dogs?
No, there are some rumblings behind the scenes that Cade could be paying people off, but that's besides the point. But I don't know, man. I was fairly confident in my picks last week. Like, he even texted me early in the week, is like, you get first picks. And like, how poetic that the one team I get right is the team that I'm always picking against Hinton, right?
Well, to be fair, like, a lot of mine were 1-2 point victories. Like, there was a lot of really close games, and a lot of yours, like, just off the top of my head, just looking. I mean, Heelan loses in double overtime, thriller. Sheraton plays Centerville, really competitive. CCA goes up 14-0 right out of the gates on Xavier. So, I mean, that's kind of how it goes. This is the first week where we've hit all our locks, which is what we should be doing. So hopefully that continues. But no, it was a lot of fun. Six dogs. We might not see that the rest of the way. So, but yeah, we ready for 5A, Nick?
Yeah, I'm ready to roll.
Let's do it. I can lead off. My lock, I'm going with Norwalk. They're at Ames, 2-0-3 teams. None of these teams are ranked. I don't know why I like picking teams that aren't ranked, but I do. Norwalk is a tough schedule thus far. Sioux City East, Indianola, Southeast Polk. So they've kind of had a tough go, but I like them to get their first win at Ames. And I think Eli Robbins has a big day. He's one of my favorite players to watch and keep an eye on. I think he goes for like 100 yards and a touchdown or something. It feels like he's due for like a big game. So, a lot of playmakers there at Norwalk. Obviously, Luke Brewer reclassifying to 2026 is the big story, but they got a lot of guys on that team, and they're a lot of fun. So I'm going to go with them. My dog, Southeast Polk at Dowling. The 5A matchups are fire this week. There is a lot to choose from. I'm going with this one. Both teams 2-1, and their 1 losses are to the teams in the top 3. Southeast Polk really kind of adopting a rush-heavy offense, finding their identity as a new team. Stanley Cooper leading the way. That team's averaging over 6.5 yards per carry. And the last 2 meetings between these teams have been absolutely crazy, and I expect nothing different. Southeast Polk and Dowling is always a crazy matchup. Just 4 combined points is what separated the last 2 matchups. So I'm expecting fireworks here. Dowling's obviously a really good team. I don't need to tell you that. I think this is just going to be a really good game, and I'm excited to follow this one, Nick.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, that name Stanley Cooper, he is a force to be reckoned with. He is scary running down the field. Just a big body that can outrun most defenders on the field. Like he's going to be really fun to watch over the next couple of years. My lock for this week, I'm going to go with Waukee Northwest. The problem with what you said there with the 5A field, there's so many good games. I don't feel comfortable with a lot of lock picks. This being one of them, I mean, I think Prairie is a ranked team, so I am picking against a ranked team here. But I just like what Waukee Northwest has done to start the season, right? You take the week 1-point game over Ankeny, really competitive team. You beat West Des Moines Valley in week 2. This was a team that had implications going into this season that they would be one of the best in 5A, and they've proved that. And I think they can do that again this week. Mac Heitland, a name that's been really important for the Wolves this season, quarterback, 815 yards and 8 touchdowns for him through the air. And he's only a junior, so young guy slinging it for this really impressive start for the Wolves. And I think they can continue that into Prairie. Host of a new Iowa commit, right?
Faison.
I'm pretty sure we posted about yes, Faison, tackles for loss leader. So that'll be a tough battle to watch there. My dog, the pick for this week, I'm going to go with Johnston over Liberty. Again, nothing against Liberty here. I've watched Liberty a couple times this season, and I mean, plenty to like about that team. But I mean, anytime you're going to play a Central Iowa 5A school, CIML, like things are going to get crazy. I just think this is going to be a really good competitive game. Johnston's offense has been really good. Last game, they put up 49 spot on Ames. I really like that upside there to carry into this week. I think if you're going to beat Liberty, you're going to have to beat those corners. Something that you don't really see in bound, you kind of have to see it in person. Those Liberty corners are legit. Tons of breakups, tons of deflections and interceptions. So I think this will be a tough competitive game for Johnston, but I'll take the Dragons to take an upset.
Yeah, I think Johnson quarterback Trevin Helming just picked up an offer from UNI this week, I believe. I saw that on his Twitter. So, and Tino Day, their wide receiver, was just on the weekly IAfootball team. So they got some weapons. I was definitely thinking about going with Johnson too. I had first pick this week, and that was definitely one of them. But yeah, that one's gonna be a ton of fun. Moving on to 4A, I'm going with Mason City. Ranked number 16. These are guys that played Fort Dodge really close. Jameer Falls is the guy to know here. He's kind of doing it all for them, and looking for them get back to 500 with the win over Marion. Give me Mason City here. And my dog, number 10 CCA, number 9 North Scott. So not really a dog. 2 just evenly matched teams. North Scott just played Pella really, really tough. CCA just took their first loss too at Xavier. That was. I felt promising though as to how CCA played though. Conlon Poynton is kind of a dual threat guy there. He's airing it out. He's running all over the place. Looks like a fun team to watch. And Aiden Schrock has been a dude on defense, and that CCA defense looking to bounce back after Xavier kind of finished strong on them. Big one here in week 3 for Clear Creek, or week 4 for Clear Creek Amana. That's a big game over there in the Iowa City area. So give me CCA in a mini upset over North Scott.
Yeah, there we go. I was looking at that game too, but then I saw you picked it. So
and you picked Xavier, or you picked CCA last week. So we're getting to that point too.
Oh, I couldn't have even anyway.
We're getting to that point where we got to be careful because we're only allowed to pick each team once. So we got to be careful there. That's going to become an issue.
That definitely happened. It happened a couple times when I was picking teams. Like I picked one that I liked, and I went back and I had already picked someone. Yeah. So we're definitely. That's how you know we're getting mid-season. Like we're
crazy.
Like we're in the thick of it now. My lock for this week with 4A, I'm going to go with Fort Dodge. I guess I'll apologize to Nelly. I'm sorry, Nelly. I'm picking against Waterloo West. Fort Dodge, we've talked about this team before. they've had they had a scare with Webster City last week, formerly ranked 3A team 7-6, but I think that they kind of put that away a little bit with a promising offensive and defensive stand against Waterloo East. And I think they can do something similar here against statistically a slightly better Waterloo West squad. But I mean, True McBride, I mean, you told me before the season that you really like this Fort Dodge team, and it's showing, right? True McBride, 322 passing yards for him, 6 total touchdowns. And William McElroy, 363 rushing yards for him. So a nice little dual threat action there. I'll take the Dodgers to get a win over the Warhawks. My dog pick for this week, I'm going to go with Glenwood. Kind of a quiet team here. 3-0 start to the season. They're in that southwest corner of the state, so we don't really get to see them or talk about them much. Also, quick mention, probably a top 3 logo for me. I love the Glenwood Rams logo.
There you go.
But in any case, they're taking on SBL, a dome team from last year in 3A. And props to SBL. They've had a pretty tough start to the season with a top 2 3A team Bishop Heelan and a top 10 4A team with Lewis Central. They got the win in that one. But I don't know. I like Glenwood here. Ben Carlo, the junior quarterback, has done some pretty good things, closing in on 400 yards on the season for him. And Scott Reed, their running back, already halfway to the 1,000-yard mark here, heading into week 4. So I really like that. I don't know, man. I think that this Glenwood team might be a little bit slept on since they're so far out there. And I think that they could put themselves even more on the map. I think they're at the bottom of the 4A rankings right now, and this would be a really nice win on their rap sheet to climb those rankings. So I'll take Glenwood from the upset.
Love it. Off to Class 3A. My lock, I'm going with Greene County. Happy homecoming to the Rams. A lot of teams are going to be hitting that homecoming game here in the next few weeks. They get Sadell. Greene County just beat a good Grandview Christian team. They also played Woodward Granger really tight. Zach Stoller can air it out, and they got a guy in Trevon Keeley, one of the more underrated athletes in the state of Iowa, wide receiver for Greene County. That dude can go and get it. He was a high jump state champ for Peyton Sherdan. He's a lot of fun to watch. Greene County hasn't lost to Sadell in the Bound era, so I'm going to go with the Rams here. And my dog, you just talked about him, Webster City, played Fort Dodge really good. But this game is one of those games that might be over in the literal blink of an eye. Not even 150 passing yards combined between these two teams. The clock is going to be running. The possessions are going to be valuable in this one. I mean, these are the types of games that are single digit versus single digit. It would not surprise me. Canton Wine has been great for Gilbert, and then Griffith and Hernasek leading the way for Webster City. I mean, both these teams just love to run the football, and they do it well. And, it's one of those games where who can stay disciplined on defense and kind of get that stop and maintain their assignment. So Webster City at a 4A ranked Gilbert. Like you said, Webster City just on the outside of the rankings. I'm going to take them to beat a 4A ranked team here on the road.
All right. Yeah, I like the picks. My lock for this week, I'm going to go with Mount Vernon. Just watch the squad play against Solon last week, and that was a really good game. I thought both teams played well. Mount Vernon, I talked to the guy on the sidelines last week. Jace Jaspers, obviously, that's just terrible. You hate to hear about injuries. And obviously, heart goes out to Mount Vernon. I hate to see that, but I think even without that stud wide receiver, I thought they played pretty well. Kellen Haverback was doing Kellen Haverback things, slinging the rock, and I thought that he played really well having a guy like that out. But I still think even with that loss, that Mount Vernon is a dome contender and one of the best teams in 3A. So I'll take them to get a really nice bounce back win against Fort Madison. My dog for this week, I'm going to go with Nevada. I would say that this is probably the biggest game in 3A this week. I didn't really look at the rest of the slate, but just based off of rankings and This being the first week of districts, right?
Next
I'm
week.
not wrong about that. Next week,
Yep.
I thought these two were in the same district, but in any case, this is gonna have really big playoff implications, just based off of how good these two teams are. Clear Lake with Jackson McIntyre. I think he won a 3A award last year, and Nevada having a really talented wide receiver room. I mean, this is definitely going to be an offensive game, I would say. Nevada, I think they're going to have to turn it up a bit. Last week, I only scored 14 against Ballard, but if they can score against Clear Lake's elite defense that they've had so far, just 14 combined points that they've given up, I think the Cubs can pull it off. And that, like I said, that would be a huge win for Nevada. So I'll take them in the upset pick.
Yeah, I mean Clear Lake has been really good. I've seen them in number one in multiple polls, and you can't really argue against it because they've looked really good. They're holding steady at number 3 right now, and ours nothing wrong with that. But yeah, that team looks dangerous. That is a huge game in Class 3A. We will move on to Class 2A, where I'm going to roll with the Wolverines of Dyke New Hartford to pick up a win. Maddox Pattison will air it out for the Huskies. But I like Dyke New Hartford in this one. This defense is tough, just like they always are. 2 shutouts before the loss to Grundy Center last week. And in a game they played really competitive, I'd say. I mean, it was 35-7, but that game is always just a slugfest in the trenches. I think Devlin Davis is a big game incoming. He's been the leading rusher. He's been really good all year. And I think Dyke gets a bounce-back win. And my dog, going with Central Lion George Little Rock. They get number 12 Boyden Whole Rock Valley, another acronym game. CLGLR versus BHRV. There you go. Lions are 0-3. They've had a tough slate to start the year with MOC West Lion and Spirit Lake. And they got another ranked team coming right in their backyard. Boyden Whole Rock Valley is coming off a huge win over OABCIG. But I like Jaden Dale and company to lead the win, or to lead his team to a win. They get him at home. Good time to bounce back. Good time to get a win. In that win column. I don't know. This is kind of one of those gut ones because BHRV is playing really well, and I've talked highly on them. I've picked them before in the show. I don't like going against the Nighthawks right now because I think that's a really good 2A team, but just know what CLGLR always does, and that's play tough, and I think I like them here to pull an upset.
All right, my lock for this week, I'm going to go with Centerville over Davis County. Just picked against Centerville last week with Sheraton. I went 1 for 6. So
You're avenging.
Odds say that, yeah, that's right. Centerville. Talked about Mac Murdoch last week, I think. Sophomore, 841 passing yards, 12 total touchdowns. I'll leave it at that. He's been really good for the Big Reds so far. Davis County, shout out to them. They've had a pretty tough schedule to start it off here with Pekin and Sheraton, both teams that have been in the rankings already this season. Pretty tough start to the year, but I think Centerville, I think they're going to get another win here. They're 3-0 start. I'm going to take them to go 4-0 behind Murdoch here. So that'll be my lock. My dog for this week, I'm going to go with Spirit Lake. Been a bit of a rough start to the season with 1-2, but I thought that was kind of like a wake-up call last week with how they did against Central Line, George Little Rock. I mean, I won't go too into depth because you just talked about them, but I mean, Central Line, George Little Rock is a good team. Like, they're one of the best teams in the class, I think. And Spirit Lake just 35-7. I mean, really, really good game there. I think they're just on the right track right now. Not a ton of players really sticking out to me statistic wise. So that just tells me that this team is playing really good football right now. Taking on Okoboji. I think they're a freshly ranked team, 3-0 already. Starting off the season with wins against Boyden Whole Rock Valley, like you mentioned, and then Emmitsburg last week. So kind of like you said, kind of a gut pick here. I think Spirit Lake is just playing really good football right now. So I'll take the Indians to take the win.
How about the logos too? You got the Big Reds and the Indians, but they're looking different ways. Now it's making me think of which Iowa high school logos are facing different ways. Just makes me think of weird things. But off to 1A, we'll see who we got. The Underwood Underwood's facing right. The South Harden's kind of facing left. Oh, now I might have to now I have to dive into this a little more.
Great.
But
Okay.
nevertheless,
Every logo facing left in Iowa high school football.
there we go. Is that Falcon facing left then? Are you saying that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'd
The
say so.
Falcons facing left for sure.
Interesting. All right, that's an elite logo, by the way, the old Falcons logo. But I'll get to that. My lock, going with Pleasantville at I-35. I mean, Braylon Bingham, leading passer, leading rusher, leading tackler, but he's got a good team around him too. Don't think it's just a one-man crew. They got a tough matchup with I-35 though. Jace Maxwell's coming off a good game for the Roadrunners, and Pleasantville has played 3 pretty close games so far. I mean, each game they've played has been competitive. And I know Pella Christian, Mount Airy, Linville, Sully, all those games have been pretty close. Obviously, people might think that they're not as good because they're playing in close games, but I like seeing teams playing close games because it shows you know how to win in those tight games when maybe things aren't going great. So I think that's a good sign. I-35 has won this matchup the last 2 years, so I like Pleasantville to go and get their get back on the road. And my dog just talked about how much I like this logo. This probably should have been in my top 50 logos, I'm not going to lie. Applington Parkersburg at newly ranked number 16 Union. Going to go with Benny Waller and company. I mean, AP, they're going to run the football. Mason Prusner coming off a really good game against Garner Hayfield Ventura. I think he was on our IAfootball team of the week. Union has scored 40-plus in back-to-back games, and AP is coming off a game where they didn't allow – or AP's coming off not allowing double digits. So, I mean, something's got to give here. And I think I'm going to take Devin Eberhardt in this Falcon defense to pick up a big win on the road at Union. It's going to be a fun environment because – I mean, Union's 3-0. That program's buzzing, and rightfully so. But I like AP here.
All right, my lock for this week, I'm going to go with South Hardin, team that we've gotten a little bit more familiar with here.
We have.
In
you got to shout them out. You got to shout out the South Hardin diehard.
They're watching. They've had a pretty good start to the season. Defense, 21 combined points that they've led up in their first 3 games. But how about this? Every game, the offense scoring more points than the last. They opened the season with 28, and then they went to 37, and last week scoring 41. I think the Tigers are trending perfectly in the right direction, and they're going to take on Eagle Grove this week. Tigers are IAfootball fans, so I'm a South Hardin fan, so I will take them in the win this week. My dog for this week, one of the bigger matchups in 1A this week, Underwood and Tri-Center. And honestly, this might be the best quarterback battle we see in the class this year. You have Garrett Louette, who's he's been one of the more dominant quarterbacks in this class for multiple years now. Correct me, Mr. Baseball. He is an Iowa baseball commit, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. So this guy, I mean, your Iowa baseball commit, you got a cannon, man. There's no way around it. And then you have AJ Harder, who led this Tri-Center team, or at least helped lead this Tri-Center team to their first state championship ever, and also their first playoff win ever. So I just think there's a lot of great stuff going on, a lot of great stories between these two teams, and specifically between these two quarterbacks. I think this is just a really interesting game that I like to pick on, but I'll take Underwood to get a little, just one. I think they're one rank ahead of them, so it's not any space between them. Really tight game, but I'll take Underwood for the win.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these games are district games in the smaller classes. So that's a big district game with title implications. And I mean, Nick, you know it. Winning your district in those smaller classes is huge. I mean, that's putting you at home in the playoffs. So, I mean, that's a big game nonetheless. That's going to be a ton of fun to follow. Moving on to Class A, another elite logo, the West Hancock Eagle. I'm going to go with number 1 West Hancock here. I kind of picked him only because we haven't talked about him. And I'll say this, Class A, I have not seen a lot of number 1 West Hancock polls. And I think this team is the number 1 team in Class A right now. I mean, we have them at number 1. I haven't seen it a lot of other places, which is always fun seeing other polls. They've scored 34 in each game thus far, and they're doing what West Hancock does. That's running the football. They're averaging over 7 yards per carry. They've already hit 1,000 team rushing yards. Nathan Bixel the name to know. He has 470 of those. So I'm going to go with Wes Hancock to stay unblemished and likely keep the number 1 spot for another week. My dog, going with Nashua Plainfield at North Butler. Nashua Plainfield just outside the A rankings, North Butler just inside of them. So really not a huge upset, but I mean, when you go by what we're going off of, it is. It's a sneaky good game here. Eli Kalanoff leading a good rushing attack for the Huskies, coming off a good win over Central Springs, a good 1A team in Central Springs, that is. Brody Wanksness won't be easy to stop. North Butler is having a great start to the year. They're coming off a shutout win over Starman, 21-0. They've also beat Central Springs, I believe. So this is going to be a fun game. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to go with Nashua Plainfield to pick up a mini upset here.
All right, my lock pick. I'm going to start with Madrid here, taking on Earlham. Gosh, I'm picking against all of the schools that the IA staff are close to. I might get I might get put on the chopping block by Tony, man. Jeez, sorry. Anyway, this is going to be as Class A football as it gets, man. These two teams run the ball. Earlham already over 1,000 rushing yards on the season here in the first week, not the first week, through week 4. Madrid getting close there with 945. Their leading rusher, Loken Velke, I think that's right. 451 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns on the year for him. And for a team that doesn't pass all that much, just 20 attempts on the season, Jevin Severson, a name that we have talked about a lot, not only in football, but also on the basketball side of things. 3 touchdown catches on 4 total receptions and 111 yards. That is why he is one of the top recruits in the state, and one of the top tight end recruits in the nation. So I'll take Jevin Severson and the Madrid Tigers to get the win there. Tony, I'm sorry, one last time. Dog pick for this week, we go with Midland taking on Wapsie Valley. Both teams undefeated, so something has got to budge here with the 3-0s on either side. This one is a bit more passing than the previous game that we talked about. Both teams have solid quarterbacks, and both of them young guys. Midland, Corbin Eggenhouse, the sophomore, 300 passing yards and 5 touchdowns to start on the year for him, compared to Caleb Hogan, the junior, 406 passing yards and 4 touchdowns for him. I think statistically these teams look really similar. I think they played fairly similar against what's common opponents. I think these teams are, on paper, they look like the same team, same record, similar stats. So I think this is a really interesting game here, but I'll take Midland for the upset.
There we go. And off to the finale. 8-man. I saw someone commenting that 8-man shouldn't count on the county's map, and I couldn't disagree more. 8-man football is real football.
Come on.
8-man football is real football, and you can argue with a wall if you think otherwise. I'm going to go with Woodbine at Stan as my lock. 600 passing yards, 400 rushing yards for this offense. Extremely balanced. Pryor has been great at touchdown, 13 touchdowns, 1 interception. Landon Bloom, obviously the wide receiver, the deep threat. He's elite. And then Cal Pryor is leading the defense. So Woodbine just looks like a state contender team. And I see your lock's another state contender team. This top handful in 8-man looks really dangerous. I know I've been saying that for weeks, but it's going to be really fun to see how this class plays out. My dog, going with Waco versus Fremont Mills. This is number 15 versus number 10. Really not much to choose from in 8-man. We're kind of hitting that week where, finding dogs is tough to go. I'm undefeated so far in 8-man dogs. I'd like to keep that, but this is going to be tough because Fremont Mills is a good team. Waco, though, they're cruising. They scored 40 in each game so far. Hayden Shellman has just been an issue at quarterback. He's been leading the way in a lot. There's a reason Fremont Mills is still ranked, though, after losing to Woodbine. They have quality wins over Boyer Valley and Cam. So Fremont Mills has been very good in their own sakes. Sawyer Forney has been really good. He's going to be tough to stop, but I think in the premier 8-man matchup of the week, I think I'm going to take the Waco Warriors to pick a little upset. Waco has an elite live mascot. I want to see more live mascots in Iowa high school football, and they have an elite one. If you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It is just a great mascot.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. That was a great call out there. My lock for 8-man, I'm gonna go with Iowa Valley. I mean, this has been a 8-man team that we've definitely been talking about a lot in the last couple of years. And one of those big reasons is Nolan Kriegel. I'm just now noticing that he's a junior. Like we get one more season of Nolan Kriegel's just freak stat lines. I feel like I see this guy's box score every week. Iowa Valley has been one of the best teams in 8-man. I think they're number 3 right now in the polls. And I don't know, man. They're just trending in the right direction. They have one of the best players in the class. And I think this is definitely a dome team. And I think they take the win this week. Luckily, before I made this pick, Cade decided not to share with me that we have lots of Audubon watchers.
We do. Yeah, head coach Burks is definitely watching. I know he is. I know a lot of Audubon people are watching. So go ahead, Nick. I'm gonna give you the floor here.
So OG fans know that the first time I ever talked about Audubon, I sat here and stumbled the name for like 5 minutes, Audubon. And now I'm going to go ahead and
we
pick
were
again
learning then,
someone.
we're still learning now. It's that's still
yeah,
gonna happen.
right. So not great history here with Audubon. But I'm going to take Cam here. Cam fresh into the 8-man rankings. I think they're just at 16. It wasn't that crazy of a move up. They won their last 2 games, won their week 2 game against Coon Rapids Bayard, and then they take the 2-point win against the then ranked Bedford. Zach Hoffman getting a pretty nice start to his sophomore season here at Cam, 387 passing yards. I feel like the trend typically with 8-man is rushing, and a quarterback who actually, not trying to be disrespectful here, but a quarterback who actually like is throwing the ball and not just tucking in and running it is kind of interesting for me, specifically with 8-man. Again, no disrespect here to Audubon.
No,
all right. Seriously, this is like, I mean, this is going to be one of the matches that's going to be closer in this class, or at least I'd like to think. Sometimes the 8-man matches are just like, you think it's going to be close, and then it's like 72-41. I don't think that will be the case here. I think Cam will give Audubon a run for their money, and I think that the Cougars could walk out of here with a big upset win. I'm sorry, Coach.
Audubon fans, I'm asking you to be nice to Nick Fox here.
I'm just doing my job.
No, man. I agree. There's 8-man. There's not a ton of crazy games this week. I mean, there's 60 something teams at 8-man, and a lot of the ranked teams are facing teams that are on the lower half of our ultimate rankings. That's just how it is. I mean, that looks like it could be a good game. So, yeah, shout out to all the Audubon people watching. We love the support.
Always.
No, that wraps up another week of Locks and Dogs. Hopefully, I'm kind of rooting for Nick to get back into this thing so we can make this interesting.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. But no, it should be a fun week again. Go ahead and tune in on our socials, IAfootball, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is. We will have live coverage all Friday night. Iowa football also plays Friday night, so I'm sticking close to home so I can hustle back and watch the end of that game. But we appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'll see you next Monday for team rankings, but Nick, we'll see you next Thursday for Locks and Dogs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.